It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the entire planet, 866-90-RED-EYE. I am Red Eye Radio. Oh, okay. He just entered the studio. We are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara.
You can be Red Eye Radio. I'm fine to go home right now. If you need to be Red Eye Radio, you can be Red Eye Radio. You can be whatever you want, Gary.
No, you got on my case last week when I happened to be a tiny Brit.
What was it you saying?
So I took a shot during the break.
You people, you people make me sick. All of you people.
You got on my case last week when I was a little bit late and not slurring my words.
Stumbling in at 4 a.m.
Well, you know something? Where I grew up, the bars were just closing now.
Yeah.
The bars closed at 4 a.m. Well, actually, no. They stopped serving alcohol at 4. You could keep the bottle in your hand till 4:30. When I was a club DJ.
And what time did they close the doors?
Well, you had to be up by 4:30, really.
Okay.
So, yeah, the bottle was when you're done drinking, you're done. No, but at 4:30, you had to be done and out at that point.
What time did the band stop?
The bands used to go. The bands would go 3. Well, unless it was like because I worked where I was really the club DJ. You know, well, I was a club DJ at a couple of clubs, and you spun tunes until 4 o'clock. But when I worked at places that had bands, when I worked at Stage One outside of Buffalo, New York, that used to be owned by Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, how'd you get that job?
No, we're not going to go there.
I almost went full Keith Morrison on the. Well, how did you get that job?
That was in the. Let me see. That would have been 79, 80, I think. Trying to think, 70, 78, 79, 80 that I worked there.
I heard that was a bad investment, that he really took a bath on that one.
I think he made money on that one. That was when he was the rock promoter. And he actually had that club. He had that club, and then he had a place called the Century Theater that had about, that he booked for the Century Theater, like 2,000 people. I don't know if he owned that, though. He owned Stage One.
Okay.
When I worked there. I never saw him there. Mm-hmm. Well, people said he was in there. I never recognized him.
All right.
So I'd be sitting there going, oh, yeah, Weinstein was just in. I'm like, he was? I don't know what he looks like. So I just didn't know. You knew him because he was part of Harvey and Corky is what they were called. Harvey and Corky's Stage One it was called, but it was Harvey and Corky. They were the promoters.
That wasn't a children's show?
No, I remember when they brought in Frank Sinatra.
Oh. To that nightclub?
No.
Oh.
No. They were promoters. They booked whoever they could book, but they had two
clubs
that they also
venues.
had. Yeah,
okay.
But I think they were owners of the Century Theater and also Stage One, but they didn't own the big auditorium there. But I can still remember because I was still working at the bank, and I remember sitting there and walking down the street, and all these limos were headed towards. I was heading to the bus stop to take my bus home, and all these limos were coming by, and it was Frank Sinatra, in one of the limos. I didn't know, but it was almost as if it was the president of the United States. No, but
except with better protection.
Yes.
Doobie doo.
Oh yeah. But so bars would stay open if there was like a big band there, they'd be done by 1 o'clock or 1:30. If it was because the Police played our club like the week that The
band, not the actual cops.
Right, exactly. The week that the police came out. Remember the Vapors turning Japanese?
Yeah.
I remember they played. I remember that night. Nobody knew any songs.
Well, just the one.
And
right?
Halfway through, they played Turning Japanese. Everybody went nuts. And then the band's still playing, and by the time they were done,
go back
everybody's gone. It was the only song that they knew.
Yeah. You always save your only song for last.
But if it was just a local band, they would play 3 sets. They'd come on at 10:30 at 11 o'clock, play 45 minutes, take a half-hour break, play 45 minutes, take a half-hour break, play 45 minutes, take a half-hour break, do an encore. So many times between 2:30 and 3, the bands would, that's when they would stop. So it was late. That's why today what I look for, because a lot of the bands that, I remember probably 15 years ago even, when a lot of the bands that I like, did a reunion and, the local bands was like, they're starting at 7 o'clock and ending at 9. It's like, yeah, I like this a lot better.
Well, I was going to say, when I played, opening act would be 8 at a club.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was an opening act. If it was a feature band, they would do 2 sets, and the first would be at 9-ish, and then they would do a late set.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I remember at times the Continental, which was like the CBGBs of Buffalo, and they would be open. I mean, the bands would be ending at 3:45.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, last call. They want the bands to end at 3:45 in the morning. Think about that.
Yeah, right.
I remember being the club DJ, and we would, by 4:30 we'd leave, and I'll never forget. We used to, myself and a few of the bouncers would sit out in the parking lot on the hoods of our cars and just talk and watch the sun come up.
Yeah,
and we go home. It's like, so this job. We get a couple of bands to play in here and bring in some alcohol. I'll be doing the same thing. Just 40 years later, 43, 44, 45 years later.
We used to sit and listen to music actually on the Rio Grande. And we would sit in Del Rio. And I remember one night the song Cars by Gary Newman. That was a big
huge song.
And
I was so sick of it. But
we would, literally, we didn't go there for that. We were just hanging out.
Right.
But illegal immigrants would be coming across the river and, just walking along the road that we were on. We were just hanging out, listening to music, really doing nothing. And then some in that group decided to become Border Patrol agents later. I don't think Raul Ortiz was in that group of kids with us at that time. But, of course, he went on to be chief, now retired. But
when's he going to be doing an interview? Boy, we just got to.
I haven't, we've been, some of the other guys in our group have been looking to reach out to him to invite him out to a reunion. We haven't been able to schedule a reunion because a couple of the guys are going through some things, and Raul has been, of course, very busy. But we're trying to get him to come to one of our reunions now that he's retired to hang out and enjoy himself. But I have not reached out to him. But I'm guessing. I was wondering just yesterday where he might end up. Now, he's from Del Rio. He was born and raised in Del Rio. And I'm guessing he'll end up in Texas, but I don't know that for sure. And I don't know. He probably has so many private sector offers right now that I don't know, because if, let's say you're going to be on the board of directors, right? For instance, the former chief of police in Dallas, is now working for a huge law firm here in Dallas. He's retired from law enforcement, but he's gone into the private sector. If you take on that private sector role, and I don't know if Raul Ortiz will do this, I have no indication either way. But if you do that, you probably wouldn't do the interview or write the book. You know, his predecessor, his boss, when he resigned, you know, that video that he put out when he was on his way out the door gained a lot of attention. So it could be that he sits down for an interview with someone. He may already have that planned. If you're going into the private sector, sometimes you hold back on stuff like that, and you just quietly go into the private sector and do whatever you're going to do. He might just be retired and go fishing for a year. I don't know. Haven't heard back from him. A couple of the guys have reached out to him directly. I have not, but I am curious.
Well, I just wondered, I mean, after you see Mayorkas's performance yesterday, and he used to work for Mayorkas, that's the first thing I thought of was Raul, you know, your friend.
Yeah.
And him, and I was like, did he retire officially yet? Because then I woke up this morning and saw, you know, former Border Patrol official criticizes Mayorkas, and I went, ooh.
That's
and
Raul.
And it wasn't. I thought it was. And it wasn't. So I just started thinking about him, and just when I wonder if he is, you know, going to come forward, because what Mayorkas said, so outrageous yesterday. I mean, that's like, because when he was asked, you know, about California sanctuary city laws and claimed ignorance, that he knew nothing on it, it was like, come on. I mean, it's, and we're to the point now, you think about it with Mayorkas, you think about Mayorkas, Karine Jean-Pierre, what's going on. The line is so in your face. It's almost, you know, it's not just line, it's almost a taunting line. You ever get that feeling? It's not just line, it's like we're taunting you by line.
Right.
We're showing you that we can lie with impunity.
I'm going to go to a new level of lying and dare you to call me on it. And even if you call me on it, I'm going to scoff at you with my smirks. That has to be frustrating. Raul was very vocal during the Trump years. The night, I forget which year it was, but it was the night that then President Trump, during his State of the Union, recognized Rush Limbaugh. Raul was sitting directly behind Rush.
I remember that.
And I thought to myself, you know, because I think about the moments of, and he had been on Fox News quite a bit. Raul had been, and in fact, Laura Ingraham had made, when he was sector chief, had made lots in Del Rio, lots of trips down there, and they had covered the border crisis extensively as they have at Fox News. And he was part of that as sector chief, kind of showing the media what was going on. And he was very clear about it, about, you know, all of the issues that they face. I can't imagine that job, you know. It just has to seem like you're spinning wheels.
Forget about the job under Mayorkas.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, no, that's really where I was headed. By the time you get to D.C. as chief, deputy chief first, and then promoted to chief, your hands are tied. And you're basically serving under someone who does not care about enforcing the border. In fact, quite the opposite. And that has to be, especially the daily job itself is tough. And then have your hands tied by management at the very top has to be insanely frustrating. I can only imagine.
And it's, you know, something, it's you can sit there and say, okay, I know this is an incoming administration that does not want to secure the border.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were blunt about what they were doing and honest about what they were doing, that would be one thing. I know that anybody of integrity has to be absolutely livid if you work beneath someone, because it's happened to me in business before, when you work under a pathological liar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And nothing is worse than your boss being a pathological liar, because even though it's unfair, that that trickle-down pathological line, does part of it sticks to your reputation.
Yeah.
As unfair as it may be.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
No, it
not
does.
saying for Raul it does, but
I think it does. I don't know for sure if
Yeah,
it does.
well,
but I think it
but it does,
blemishes his
it does to
reputation.
you.
Yeah.
As
Right.
an individual, it
Yeah.
does to you. So it did to me. I viewed it as helping to destroy my reputation because my boss was the pathological liar.
Right. I don't think any different of Raul, even if I didn't know him personally. I don't think of any different of the agents that are on the ground. It's just that I see it as there's no way that it's not going to blemish your reputation. You know, with Mayorkas and Biden and their agenda.
866-90 Red Eye.
The summer of 23.
It is going to be one of the very warmest that we've ever seen.
Agriculture Department meteorologist Brad Rippey, perhaps the word warmest is an understatement. Temperatures across the globe deadly hot. Many of those who work outdoors a lot are at risk from heat stress and stroke. And for those not used to that kind of heat,
you can't just go out and work a full day the very first day in the heat. You kind of have to let your body build up to that.
Ohio State University health and safety professor Dee Jepson says just deciding on day one to get all those jobs done around the place, not a good idea. And here's why. Looking at heat-related deaths among farmers and other outdoor workers.
Half of the deaths that happen to workers will happen on their very first day of the job. 70% occur within the worker's first week.
So Dee Jepson says take it easy in the heat. Just do a little work at a time out there and be kind to yourself with
rest, water, and shade.
And lots of it. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, projecting out as to what's going to happen now. You know, you've got, whatever happens today, whatever the Republicans do today. But right now, I mean, with the Hunter plea deal falling apart, you've got a month before they go back again. And who knows? The judge may look at it and rubber stamp the next one without the immunity deal. You know, we don't know. The interesting thing is, she never read everything that the Ways and Means Committee sent to her. She didn't read it. And, she only discovered the part of the immunity deal inside the diversion.
Right.
That she was apparently not happy with at all right before she went into the courtroom.
Yeah.
I saw that on yesterday. It's like she just... So we have no idea what's going to happen. I really, again, this is why you just don't try to predict what's going to happen, because my gut feeling told me, I figured she's going to rubber stamp it and it's over with, because I knew the Joe Biden thing wasn't going to be over with. I think that the Democrats thinking that if Hunter Biden has immunity from prosecution, or got that sweetheart deal, that they couldn't go after Joe. I don't know how wrong that could be. But when I said I believe that was wrong, and very wrong, because the Republicans would still continue and just say, well, this is a sweetheart deal, because the American public already believes it, and that's what helps to drive this is what the American people believe.
Yeah.
When you have the political will of the people behind you, that's everything in something like this. But we'll talk about, because I don't think a lot of people have talked about the Devon Archer testimony and what this could do to the president next week. We'll get to that next.
The Bonus Show.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Earlier in the show, we went through, the possibilities and just what's going on in the indictments against Trump and the new charges. Now it's time to look at Biden. I think that the Democrats have to be panicking big time behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What you have coming up on Monday with Devon Archer, and you're talking about a former board member on the Burisma board and a business partner of Hunter Biden.
Right.
Who knows? I guess you could say probably knows where the bodies are buried.
Yep, sure.
But from what we know, and it has not been refuted, he plans on telling investigators, for the House Ways and Means Committee, he plans on telling them that Joe Biden was on the phone at least 24 different times with those people who ended up giving the Bidens tens of millions of dollars. So when you just generically say it's going to be, 24 report, 24 times, they're going to find out if you know the 24 times, then you know the people that he was on with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have just, and that's why I was I'm shaking my head yesterday, and even when I heard Karine Jean-Pierre, today, and the talk about, no, we've been consistent. He's never done business. Well, he never knew anything about his son's business dealings and never asked his son about the business dealings. We knew that was a lie that lasted years, even though there was evidence that showed that it was not the case. This new turn may fall apart less than a week after Karine Jean-Pierre threw it out, that he never did business.
Right.
Because, just reading here from Jonathan Turley, the laptop includes pictures and appointments of Hunter's foreign business associates with Joe Biden. And so, you look at it right there. So they've got that. They've got now Devon Archer. They've got Bob Ulinsky.
Yeah.
Who else will testify? Schwerin, I don't know. Who else is going to testify? I don't know. The thing is, all we do is we get piecemeal week after week after week, month after month after month. You put the entire picture together and you say, okay, how far have you connected the dots? If you've got the laptops which includes pictures and appointments of Hunter's foreign business associates with Joe Biden, you've got sworn testimony from his business partners that Joe was a part of it and got 10%.
Yeah.
Right. And in some cases, maybe it's more than 10%. Who knows? But really, the one, I think, false thing that Democrats are relying on is, okay, they haven't got the money line directly to Joe Biden. They don't need to.
No, if it goes to his family,
yeah,
and there was any consideration in return for that money, any actions whatsoever or consideration when he was vice president or as now president, because we don't know that. Because right now we don't know what the ask is. We know some of it with Burisma. We've learned that in recent weeks. Some of the and I guess we've really kind of known that going back to the, during the Trump years, as we were learning about the whole thing and as the Burisma thing came to the surface. However, it's kind of an open-ended question as to what all could be involved in that consideration. And could it include his time as president, not just vice president?
So you've got the laptop with pictures and appointments of Hunter's foreign business associates with Joe Biden. I don't know how many they have.
Right.
You're going to have a witness, former Burisma board member, business associate with Hunter Biden, that's going to say Joe Biden was put on the phone many times with these people who gave Hunter Biden and allegedly the 9, money funneled to the 9 different Biden family members, that Joe Biden was a part of it. You have the recording of Joe Biden discussing a New York Times report in December of 2018 detailing Hunter's dealings with the head of the Chinese energy company.
Yeah.
So we know that. So he's talking to him about that. Doesn't just show knowledge, that shows interest in discussing it. Plus, he's actually talking to these business people. All you need, and I don't know what's going to come out on Monday. We know the generalities of it, but when you start putting names and companies and positions of power of these people in their countries with their government, and then things that the United States was doing, and then you get more of the money trail. Well, you get that next week, and that's going to be huge, because what that does is that destroys the argument now that he never did business.
Yeah.
Now what you're going to hear, I believe, and I don't know what the time frame is, expect it to evolve again, that Joe Biden never did any illegal business with his son.
Yeah.
And so you keep moving, the goalposts keep moving and moving and moving.
Any business that he did with his son was on the up and up. It was legal. He didn't know anything about anything else, and Hunter may have done that in his, and we said this was probably going to evolve to the point of them saying, listen, the guy was on crack. So he did a lot of things and probably promised a lot of things, and you can't prove. Well, if Devin Archer comes out and says Biden was on the phone call a number of times, that changes. And here's the other thing. You pair that with the president of Burisma reportedly recording phone calls.
If you get him to testify, and nobody has talked about that at all.
No, they haven't. That's such a huge deal, and why no one has brought that, because
he has said nothing publicly, nothing on it, But no, you haven't heard. No, I have, and believe me, you know as well as I do, every single liberal media outlet in the United States is trying to get him to say no. Everything that they're talking about is not true.
Well, that, or are they waiting in the wings going, we don't want to approach this and say it's not true, because those recordings could drop at any moment. If those recordings still exist, and how do they not in an NSA world?
And we asked that question. We asked that question too. How does that not exist in an NSA world where you monitor, where they're always monitoring?
Yeah.
Where we're basically told that any call overseas is somewhere.
Right.
It may not be the fact that they've identified it and tagged it and pulled it.
Right.
But it's somewhere.
Well, and I mean, look. You and I were joking about, or talking about people drinking on planes and alcohol and everything else. There's no doubt that later on today when I go home, Google on my phone is going to be throwing down some alcohol-related ads. I mean, your devices listen to everything. So if there are phone calls that were actually deliberately recorded by one party, and that's what we're told, the president of Burisma recorded the phone calls, they have to still exist somewhere. And I have to believe that the liberal media is holding back on this, ignoring this until they'll only address what surfaces as it surfaces. Because if you go out on the limb, look, The View can do, that can just be The View. No one cares about what they're doing.
Nobody cares about Claire McCaskill.
That's
all right.
Interesting.
All right.
Nobody Claires.
I've
No
done
one
5.
Claires.
I've done 5 shots.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. No, if you get into the actual media, the Washington Post finally addressed it. Right? They've been silent. Democracy dies in silence. But all of this, your approach can only be, we'll address it as it comes out, because I think that's the official approach, or unofficial approach, actually. That's the approach of officials in the party, the Democrats who have been around for a while. I've been saying this for a while. You don't know what Devin Archer's going to say. They didn't know about the 1023. Look, the FBI director didn't even know that Oversight had seen the 1023 until they told him. And then all of a sudden he says, oh, yeah, you mean that 1023. And he makes it available. And then all of a sudden the American people are able to see it as it's released. I honestly stick by this theory that they don't know what's to come. That's why they're only going to comment and react. That's why Jean-Pierre is changing the goalpost as it goes. She's just going to change her answers as the situation evolves.
When you take, I think this is really important because you and I follow this every single day. We've been following it every single day since, like everybody else, since 2020, but we've been following it, in depth every single day. Mm-hmm. And every single day we know that part of the problem in our society is in news. Sometimes we live in the bubble of today and ignore what happened.
Yeah.
When you take the totality of everything, from the laptop to the witnesses to the, and we don't know what the witnesses are all of them are going to say, to the electronic transfers, to the SARS reports, from the banking records. You take that in its totality, and the fear. This isn't about Joe Biden going to jail.
Right.
What this is about is destroying the presidency and showing that everybody was involved in covering it up. That's really the value to the Republicans out there.
Right, yeah.
But when you take it not in everyday bits, where, for example, a Claire McCaskill came out and, as we played it before, said, well, all they're doing is they're going after a loving father, a father who loves his drug addict son. And that's what it's about here. Well, everybody knows that's a load of horse manure. Mm-hmm. But if that's the best that she can do, it shows you she's completely lost, that she cannot touch any of the allegations so far based on the evidence that exists, because there's a ton of evidence out there right now, and nobody has put it together in a massive, marketing or hearing where everything comes out basically in the same time span in one hearing, one investigation, one impeachment inquiry, whatever. I mean, because that's a possibility, where you lay it all out. And we don't know. We may only know 60% of what's out there.
Right.
Or 70% of what's out there. And that other 30% completes all the dots. And I don't know politically how Biden survives it. I don't know how he survives it.
At this point, I really don't know either.
Because next week, the changes again from the White House. You can no longer say that he never did business because he's putting on the phone. He's talking to his business partners, not once, not twice, 24 different times.
Wow. So now the story has to change again.
Got to change again.
Once it changes again, the media is just going to be done. We're done with this whole moving the goalpost. I think even some of the liberal media. Come on.
Well, because are they done because they say, look, this is getting too bad. We cannot go
exactly.
with this.
We can't do it anymore.
He's outused his usefulness.
Yeah.
That Kamala Harris is really looking good these days. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So sad to hear about the death of Randy Meisner from.
Yeah, that was really sad.
Yeah.
It was. I had revisited his breakup with the Eagles recently. It kind of came up in a documentary that floated up to the top of my interest on YouTube, and that whole thing was kind of sad. You know, he was going through a hard time. At that time, he was sick. He was going through a divorce. He wanted to just come off the road. And one night on the road in Knoxville, they wanted him to sing "Take It to the Limit." That was his song. You know, I mean, and it was a hit song at the moment. And he kind of refused. He said, "I just don't feel like singing tonight." And he and Glenn Fry had it out on stage in part. And then not long after that, he was out of the Eagles. Sad story.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood.